But Emirates business class, which I did from Sydney to Dubai, they have a bar on the back of the plane. So when you're at 30,000 feet and you have your gin and tonic, I'd call that pretty civilized.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, goals, huh?
It's the goals, yeah, very so. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smack Hospitality Podcast. We spoke to Ian Millar and Nicole Rosenkranz, professors at the Ecole de Lausanne, about topics such as innovation, changes in the education landscape of hospitality, and the unique things you experience when teaching for 20 plus years. Special Christmas episode for you. Enjoy.
I'm going to ask with a very simple question. What the hell happened to the campus?
Somebody had an idea that we're expanding.
Okay, so tell me what exactly is the plan? So there's a big pit as you come in.
Yes.
What is all of that going to become? Buildings of a sense that for the school or housing? Do we know?
We do know. I mean, if you haven't had the chance yet, downstairs there is a wonderful model of our campus soon to become reality. The first part of it, which is the most extended part from where we are sitting right now, is housing. Because since we are growing, we also need to give our AP students a place to stay.
Yeah.
And there's only so much room under the bridge here.
Yeah.
So we have decided to go and expand in that direction.
Yeah.
From what I know, this is a very fancy collaboration with EPFL because these are multifunctional, super novel rooms that lead themselves to diverse usages. And then the actual main body of the campus is what you just declared as the mud pit.
Yeah.
That is still where we're pretty much changing everything around. So the former entrance, which you both still know, ceased to exist.
Yeah.
That's where the temporary entrance right now is because we're going to have a direct entrance from the motorway. There's going to be a roundabout.
Yeah.
And then you have an entrance into a multi-layered building that has several, let's say, light pits in between. The former, what's it called?
La Ferme?
La Ferme, exactly. Is going to be rebuilt somehow and integrated. It's going to become the reception of the school. And then we're going to have very fancy multifunctional rooms.
Yeah, you've got one thing, Nicole.
Oh, what did I forget?
The swimming.
Yeah, but that, I haven't... See, I leave the best. And actually, in that case, it's the swimming pool and the spa.
Semi-Olympic swimming pool.
Okay.
Perfect. Going as well, plus a gym space and social chill-out space.
At spa, is it with massage treatment or is it just a regular sauna?
More importantly,
It's a question that many people have been asking themselves.
Ian, how are you in the pool?
I'm better in the pool than I am in the gym.
Okay, alright. So let's say no more.
EHL pool, cool for that gym there.
Okay, it's not really your thing. Okay.
It's gonna be our new Baywatch.
Okay. Oh wow, I'm looking forward to that. Guys,
the red trunks.
Yeah.
Thing.
The whole thing.
In your dreams.
And then tell me another thing. So we've got the kind of the serious stuff out of the way, and we can get to the good Christmassy gin tonic part. That was the serious part.
Wow.
Tell me about Singapore. So I realized that there's a campus there and there's a development there as well. What do we know and what can already be said, and what's kind of the what we're going to leave out as to whether it makes sense or not for a rainy day, but.
So the campus in Singapore will be in Singapore.
Okay. So far so good.
So far so good.
So far so good. Yeah. We're on the same page. Yeah.
No, as far as I know, the idea is that when you're BOSC 3, if I'm correct, you can then choose to do the BOSC 3 for the moment, the BOSC 3 semester in Singapore or here.
Okay.
So you can change.
Yeah.
And again, otherwise, it gives us a good footprint within Asia. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
We're building this up from scratch, literally.
Yeah.
So it won't be anything near the size of EHL Lausanne.
Sure.
We're starting with 60 students in the first one, is what I've heard. But again, that'll be something we'll gradually build up. Price of real estate in Singapore
is cheap. Yeah.
Is very, very cheap.
Yeah. It's for free, basically.
Yeah, in space. I mean, there's so much space you can do whatever you like. So
you basically come to the airport and they say, "Would you like some land?" And yeah. Okay.
So obviously Singapore's a bit of a harder one, and also for accreditation as well.
Yeah.
They're very strict on accreditation.
Oh yes.
So are some of you guys professors also going from Lausanne to Singapore or?
Yeah.
Some of the first ones are already going, I think, next summer. So
wow,
Florent Girardin, for instance, who is teaching in marketing. He specialized on luxury goods. He's going to teach already.
Wow.
Overseas. Otherwise, I don't know.
I don't know.
I've not been asked recently, so.
Well, I mean, the All-Stars are obviously keeping here. I mean, there's no doubt about that. How long have you two been teaching combined?
Oh, this is going to be a math lesson.
Yeah, of
You
course.
should ask my best friend about that one. I tend to be very stellar at that one. Oh God.
What, EHL or in general?
Well, EHL or hospitality. Let's put it that way. Hospitality.
EHL is unfair because that's really just 3 years, but I had a life before EHL.
Okay, so how long have you been teaching? Or have both of you been teaching together?
Well, when you started, 3 years.
No, but like, how many years have you been teaching, and how many years has Nicole been teaching? Are you, Ian, man?
You found somebody who's even worse at math than I am.
How many years have you been teaching, Ian?
I've been teaching here at EHL, getting close now to 19 years.
Okay.
And I've started teaching. Do you want when I got my PhD, or also before?
Before.
I have solid.
Okay, so almost, let's say 30, round up to 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the memorable moment from your teaching class where you thought, what the hell did I just witness? Give me any moment that comes to mind. It could be something with it, obviously without mentioning names.
I think being professors at EHL, it's on a daily basis, or
Sorry, you mean when a student's mucked up or something? Or?
Students, colleagues, whatever.
I do recall one memory because that certainly is something that I've never encountered before. After it doesn't directly relate to teaching, but an exam, when a male student decided to take his pants off in the middle of the exam.
Oh boy!
Sitting with just his boxer shorts in the room, and I had to get a male proctor because everybody who was proctoring in the room with me was female, and I certainly was not going to stand next to that guy and watch because something
happened.
I assumed that he had something to cheat, and I couldn't sit there or stand there and just look at his pants, and so I had to get a male proctor into the room whose only job for the next 60 minutes was
looking at the boxer shorts of that gentleman.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, okay.
so you're allowed to take off your pants during an exam?
So
Not exactly that I was favoring that, but I was also not in a position to
Question
really engage into a discussion on whether this is an appropriate or inappropriate behavior, since I had a few other handful of students in that room still running an exam.
This was clearly not EHL, because there you need to wear a tie during your exam.
you need to come with pants. Yeah, okay.
So that certainly is a memorable experience of mine.
Ian, any pantsless students in your class, or?
I mean, here 18 years, I've seen pretty much everything. I know, I've got one. So I actually had one group, found a project.
I knew this was going to come.
And who, after repeatedly me saying, have you checked your finances? Have you checked your finances? Have you checked your finances? And the group present to their client, no names be mentioned, but the CFO happened to have a PhD in finance, and he spotted that the group in question had done a miscalculation, and you were what, Fritz, off about 1.5 million?
Yes, it wasn't close, let's call it how it is. Yeah.
Well, we don't mention any names.
We don't mention names. Yeah, I'm glad.
Not mentioning any names.
Yeah, okay.
Fritz.
Yeah.
Ian Longquist.
Yeah. Said.
Anna.
Alex.
But no names. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. No, and so tell me, guys, if you compare teaching, and I know this is a very broad question, but if you compare teaching today to what it was 20 years ago, something in that ballpark, 10 years ago, and especially how it's progressed. Obviously, technology is very close to your heart, Ian, as well. Has it changed? Have the students actually become more dumb? Better at their learning experience? What's it been like? Because I know that when because I can say from a student perspective, it's always that you professors are usually not good at teaching. That's usually our best excuse for why the exams clearly did not go our way, and so on and so forth. What's your excuse for us being so stupid?
No, it's not a question of being stupid. Having this conversation, really, we were talking about it this morning, Nicole. Attention to detail. I'm not saying it's students in HL, and not at all. I think it's a societal thing.
Yes.
Where is, for example, you guys in your time, for example, you were to send us an email or something, you know, be exact. Students who send emails now in professional circumstances think they're putting a message in their WhatsApp group to their friends. And I think that's more societal. And the fact before, when you were researching something, you'd look a lot deeper into it. Now, if Google doesn't give you the answer on the first page, it doesn't exist. So I think that's a general societal, but more acute in younger people. This unwillingness or lack of effort to go deeper into things and actually find the answers They want everything to be instant and quick, and Google tell me my answer I need for my marketing exam in 0.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. I would concur with that. I always, to a certain degree, blame technology for that. As much as this is kind of ironic, given that I'm a professor of innovation entrepreneurship.
Yeah, let's just get rid of technology. It's pointless. I mean,
well, the problem is that I'm not against tech. If it's well dosed and it's appropriately implemented, it certainly helps us in so many ways. But the problem is that we know that from certain studies in cognitive psychology that has the same effect of a dopamine release in our brain to that of a shot of heroin. So we basically just threw the first legal drug on the market completely uncensored. I mean, if you look at a restaurant, most people don't talk to each other anymore, and if a kid is not well behaving, just put an iPhone or an iPad in front of them and they're glued to the screen, and then finally mommy and daddy can have a peaceful dinner. And the challenge is that we see this in the classroom. First thing I say is no laptops, no phone. Very amicable statement. Since I still
love those courses.
Oh yeah, I just amputated everybody within the first 10 minutes of my course.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, even though they don't like to say it, I think the comment usually starts with, I hate to admit it, but it actually made for much more exciting class. I was suddenly talking to students. There were great discussions, and overall, we just had a heck of fun in there that I didn't anticipate when you first started saying no phone, laptop. And I guess it goes a little bit in line because nowadays everything has to be instant, quick, entertaining, exhilarating. It's basically superlative on all accounts. And that's very hard to do. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Bring dancing dolphins? I mean, there's only so much I can do in the context of the class.
That would be really cool.
That would be amazing, yeah. That would be really cool.
So actually it's more kind of taking... Perfect. So after talking about how tech changes our life, we of course have a little technical difficulty here. So how does technology, I mean, we see how it changes the life of your students and it's harder to reach the students, but is your way of teaching also changing with using more technology about yourself, or is the topic technology much stronger also in the content and what you're trying to teach the young leaders of the future?
Mr. Techie.
Mr. Techie. Yeah, I mean, as I teach tech, Florian, actually having tech in the course helps. The clues.
I mean,
clues in the name. Yeah.
I remember leaving Ecole and not knowing so much about technology.
Okay.
Actually, I would love you to start the class from saying all phones and laptops away.
That would be good, actually. We're going to teach Excel without the laptop.
Pen and paper out. No, but and I think it's actually something I just submitted. I hope it gets through an elective on, and that's also really looking back to when a student doing the project. I was, in terms of hospitality technology, we're probably only teaching 3 to 5% of actually what you really need to know if you're going to be a modern hotel manager. It's also.
I mean, we learned revenue management doing paperwork or on Excel doing pickup rates and pickup and all of that, which you need to know, of course. But you should also know what it means to use a revenue management system, which most of the modern hotels or the hotel chains where most of the students from EHL want to go actually use.
Yeah, but I'm also a big believer, and I know Fritz is trying to recalculate pickup rate in a different version. If you're doing revenue management as a tool, you still need to learn the theory before you use the tool.
That's for sure.
That's very, very important.
Applies to many things, Ian. Yeah. Keep going.
So spoiler alert, his elective now tells you the other side of the story.
Yeah, but but there's also a lot more. It's not just about the technology systems, but it's also about how do then you integrate into this discussion with either the hotel management company, with the owner, if there's a capex investment needed. So it's also then how to build a business case around it. So I think the technology becoming more complicated. You then throw in PCI compliance, GDPR, and all these other things. It's becoming a bit of a nightmare, but it's something that a hotelier has to deal with on a daily basis.
Let me ask you this, or it's probably a question for both of you actually. If you look at the way innovation or specifically innovation is thought about these days, a lot of certainly our generation would immediately assume, okay, innovation equals tech or equals something digital for most part. And for most parts, that's probably not wrong in one way or another, but it's certainly not the whole story. Why is that? And I realize it's more a question for Nicole, because I mean, we can safely agree that my generation or our generation and the generations to come are certainly very digital savvy, tech savvy. We grew up with most of that stuff, so we kind of know our way around it. Do you reckon it limits also our I don't know, perspective is maybe a very big word, but you get what I mean if I say that, you know, our horizon is pretty limited to a laptop, a phone, and that's it. Whereas I'm sure you would agree with me that innovation comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes, potentially other than tech. Sorry, or just tech, anyways.
Oh, absolutely. I guess there's multiple things that started to come together in the last 5 to 10 years that have gotten us where we are, where we almost exclusively by now equate innovation with something that's techy. Historically, if we look at innovation, we do classify innovation as product, service, or process innovation. That was the classic ones. Until the 21st century now, the big thing is business model innovation.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where also the tech side comes in. We had seen business model innovations before that. But when you talk to, let's say, the CEOs of the top companies, probably in Europe and as much as globally, most of them are now afraid about what they call business model innovation, because the tech side is one of the strongest business model innovations that we have seen.
Right.
Because we just take classic business models and digitalize them.
Yeah.
It's, on the one hand, a low-hanging fruit, because you're just taking two things and architecturally designing them to become something new. But at the same time, it's also the most pervasive one that we're seeing across industries. This is not just for hospitality. In pretty much any other industry, we've been seeing this, whether it be retail, whether it be automotive, pharmaceutical, you name it. Digitalization goes through on all accounts. Right. And I guess to that, we also own the fact that we're by now, when we talk about innovation, pretty much just think tech.
Yeah.
You can do tons of stuff. Innovative or entrepreneurial, depending on whether you're focusing on something specific or you're just designing a business altogether, that is non-tech and equally sexy and has the potential to grow. But when it comes to, let's say, the growth potential that nowadays private equity, venture capital, but also business angels like to see, then tech obviously gives you a lever that
it needs to be
brick and
scalable.
mortar doesn't reach, not quickly, by all means, because the investment is just way too high. Yeah. I mean, Jack Ma neatly said back when, what was it? Who approached him and kind of said that he doesn't see Baba being any, let's say, serious risk in the next years to come. And he said at the World Economic Forum, well, look at them. They need a shop, they need logistics, they need this, that, and the other. I need just one server.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's pretty much everything in a nutshell.
Yeah. How is the industry doing in your opinion in terms of innovation and also tech? Are we is it any good? Are we on a good level? What do you feel are like, especially some of the big companies have done a lot in recent times as to you know, doing stuff they think was innovative and they think was digitally advanced. Are we really doing that well compared maybe to other industries?
Can you hold it for a second? Question back to you.
Yeah.
What do you think? You've recently stayed in a hotel. Has it dramatically changed for you as when you think, let's say, 10 or 15 years back?
I would say no. I would say that the hotel experience hasn't changed forever, in a while. How to get there and how to inform myself about it and how to book it, that probably has. And my question, throwing it back to you now, is has it only changed to be appealing to my generation? So fast, Instagrammable, sexy, big pictures, big tiles, easy pricing, easy comparison? Or has it also been appealing to, you know, let's not forget best agers or everybody in between, generation-wise?
I think that, you know, the fact you're saying it just applies to your generation, that people want fast, convenience, etc. I think that's almost everybody nowadays.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not just a generational thing. I mean, what you need to remember is, you know, do I think our industry is doing well? We are getting better. I think is the phrase I would use. Could we be much better? Yes. Yeah. What you need to remember is what you do before you put your foot on a property with a booking engine or a website is a lot easier than what you do with a physical asset.
And I think it's also really, it depends, you know, it's
Yeah,
the bigger ones, of course, they can't just change their IT structure that easily.
From one day to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and if you are a hotel brand operating in 30 countries around the world and you want to roll out a new PMS system, you know, that will take you probably 4 years. And by the time you get to the end of the 4 years, hey, guess what, guys? It's time for the new version.
Next one.
Yeah, and you literally get in this vicious cycle just because of geography, language, support. If you then got to deal with the hotels, you have owners, you need new infrastructure put in, the owner doesn't want to pay. It's a real complex thing you're getting involved in. It's not you sticking a docking station in a guest room.
Because you also always look at the quarterly reports and not just at, you know, what's the long-term strategy. And that's the big issue. It's often that, you know, people, especially in the bigger chains, they need to look at, okay, how are my numbers for this quarter, for this year? And they cannot say, okay, we're doing a huge change, so it's going to be good in 4 or 5 years. You have some people like Sébastien Bazin for Ecole just coming in and saying, no, we need to change everything to be able to go in the future. But that's an exception, I would say.
I think your point flew, without mentioning names, but I find it's interesting what Bazin is taking Ecole is, yes, you have the hotel portfolio, but then behind it, he's got this whole tech portfolio as well. They have their own accelerator program, so they see the value of digital and having more of a digital mindset. Although I can, on the flip side, actually in an Ecole property, naming names, a couple of weeks ago. 5-star.
Where was this again?
It was somewhere in Europe. Okay. But then I still have...
You were maybe there with Thibaut?
I was with Thibaut, yes. Hi, Thibaut. And in the room of this 5-star property, I still had the 3 old analog phones, and I had an Ethernet RJ45 cable on my desk.
That's a real service, 5-star service.
And when I did a Wi-Fi test, I was getting 1.5 meg. So I couldn't even load up my Spotify. I couldn't load up Netflix on 1.5 meg in a 5-star property in 2019. So sorry, not going on, guys. The point being, we can talk about innovation, disruption, all this stuff, but if you can't get the basics right,
it's gonna be hard.
Is it not that's why like a lot of externals coming into the hotel industry and are actually disrupting, and these are the real innovators? If I look at the student hotels, not just that they do a lot of tech themselves and their tech infrastructure, but the way their business model, so having student accommodation combined with 4-star hotel rooms, with meeting rooms, all of that. So that's kind of a process and business model innovation, but also looking at a whole new serviced apartment industry, which is much more tech driven. Do you think that is going to be a huge, will it have a huge impact on the traditional players, or do you think the traditional players will just acquire them or innovate from themselves?
I mean, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. At the end of the day, the big players are currently under pressure. And that is unfortunately because it's always been, and this is not specific to hospitality, if you take a small company versus a large one, the small one can operate like a Formula 1 car, and the big player is like a tanker in the ocean. So it's very, very difficult to adjust as quickly as a smaller company can do, which is why either you see purchase streams. So going back to the example of Ecole, it's not by chance that they've been purchasing quite a few smaller brands that have positioned themselves also in a market where they were not necessarily either present or the strongest. It's the quick fix to a problem because you buy basically a turnkey solution. The alternative is you rebuild completely, which is lengthy, painful, and most likely is going to fail because it takes too much time, too many resources, and by the time you reach anything, you're going to be probably out of the game. Or you start organically growing parts that are not necessarily previously your core business. I mean, Maud Bailly was here, so they had the CTO of Ecole just a few weeks ago, and she also said that it's augmented hospitality at this point. For them, they connect with football clubs, they have tech companies in the portfolio. For them, the experience is no longer in the property. It is before and it after, and it tends to be at some point 365.
Let's talk about. We've talked a lot about Ecole now. Let me get your opinion on the first thing you thought when you read that Marriott was taking over Starwood, Ian. What was the first thing that came to your mind? Starts with F or
No, not even. What are we going to call the merger? And obviously Marwood came out. No, to be honest, my first thought was, now that they've collided these two beasts, whose tech stack are they going to use?
That was a big topic.
Yeah, massive topic. And looking at you, Flo, you agree on this. You know, the logic would have been in from any common sense point. Okay, let's pick up what Starwood have already started and is really good. But they did the complete opposite and went on the Marriott stack.
But it goes back to that P&L story too. Where's the lower risk? And Starwood was just so much smaller.
Yeah, and when they did that, there was a collective sort of throughout the entire industry of, oh my God, I can't believe they made that choice. But that was their choice to make. They've done it, so...
And you can't forget that tech is not always the only part of which they look at. And it's of course a more and more important aspect of their business. But if they see that tech, especially changing legacy of a
chain, the brands as well. I mean, they had brands to integrate that were virtually the same.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you asked someone, can you explain the difference to me between, I don't know, a Westin or a Sheraton and a Marriott, they were like, not really. You know, and there's
to the owners.
Yeah, and then to the owners as well. I mean, there's a whole argument. So give me, and I realize this is a typical interview question, so I would love to ask professors, 5 years from now.
Where do you see yourself?
Where do you see yourself, Ian? Ian, what are you doing 5 years from now?
One, hopefully not with you.
Okay. Noted.
That's not even a hope, it won't happen. That's fine. Professionally, personally...
Both. And the industry. So professionally and the industry.
Oh, industries are obvious. Somehow connected within hospitality.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever done my entire life. So I'm not going to go and jump and open a hairdresser or something.
Why not? I mean, with your hairstyle, that would be the obvious choice.
People are getting older, you know.
So owning a hair salon, not for me. Owning a gym, not for me.
But an Olympic swimming pool would be cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
And you could not even sell cigarettes anymore.
Professional swimmer.
I'm good at swimming.
Okay.
Good buoyancy.
Yeah, okay. The floating aspect is doing very well for you, yeah, okay.
I float well. No, I mean, obviously, hopefully still here at EHL.
Yeah. How's it, so let me get this question out of the way, and before we ask Nicole the same question. 19 years from now, Ian, and today.
19 years.
Back in the days.
19 years back.
Oh.
Okay.
19 years back.
Because in 19 years, I will hopefully one, still be alive, and two, I'll be retired. So,
No, but 19 years ago,
Yeah.
what was EHL like? And compare the journey to today. How's it changed? Students, team, size. Give me your take on this. And I realize this is a big question, but especially in terms of the students and the size of the whole establishment.
Okay, so when I walked in my first day, everything was at that blue turquoise colour that we had. There were about 600, 700 students.
Yeah. How many do you have today?
3,500.
And on campus, you have 2.5 at the time, right?
Correct.
Something-
Yeah. No,
Those are the
obviously
rotational ones that are in internship.
Yeah. We had no Wi-Fi.
Wow.
We had 2 printers for the entire school.
Wow.
Teachers and staff. You had to go to room 11 and plug in your printer using the LPT1 port.
Yeah.
Remember
So
those?
how many Wi-Fi routers do we have today just above MBAR, just as a comparison?
In entire school, where we were up at about 460.
So, okay. From 0 to 460.
460. We did everything on diskette. Only just had Outlook put in before we were on Lotus. For those who remember Lotus, love Lotus.
So it changed.
Yeah, big change.
Minor.
No, and again, give a shout out to people who've been a while. Marcel in the print shop. Marcel, where he is now, but he had his own room downstairs.
Yeah.
And whenever we were prepping up for course, because we didn't have LMS, we'd take our printed sheets and go downstairs. You had to go 2 days before, and Marcel would print everything, and you box of paper and come back up to class. Whereas now everything's digitally deployed, limited paper.
Have the students changed, Ian?
Yeah.
How? Age, maturity,
No, I think
attractiveness.
They're still the same age. It's probably because we're getting older.
Okay, right, fair enough.
No, and again, I don't think it's a specific thing to EHL students. It's a generational thing.
Right.
But yeah, everything's a little bit more laid back. we can get through this and be a little bit more chilled about things. Going back to what I first said, I think they're less focused because they do have, instead of sitting down reading a book for 2 hours, it'll be 10 minutes on a book, 5 minutes on Instagram, 15 minutes back in their book. If we're lucky, jump on the WhatsApp group. Let's go have a chai latte,
or beer,
or a beer. Yeah, depends if it's 11 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon.
And the chai latte has to be with soy milk. Okay, please.
Of
careful.
course,
Yeah,
please.
okay. Or almond these days. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just more of a generational thing.
And Nicole, for you, I mean, now we heard from Ian how it changed in the last 20 years.
3 years?
No, you joined 3 years ago, so you joined based on the new vision, I would say, of EHL, which for us often we discuss it. It's much more innovation, much more international, more university, less Ecole hôtelière, like it was traditionally. What was the key driver for you to join EHL, and
why did you come here, Nicole?
Love, I feel like pulled back to my onboarding questions.
There we
I actually
go.
did my interview.
Shout out to the HR department.
Why EHL?
What
Your
are you
background
doing
does
here?
not exactly scream hospitality. Well, little do you know. My mother ran strategy for Lufthansa for 40 years. I've pretty much grown up in the travel and transportation industry. I'm pretty sure to this day I know better in a Lufthansa galley where to find stuff than in my parents' house kitchen. So I've probably intrinsically always loved hospitality, even though I've mostly seen it from the travel transportation side or as a client in hotels. But
what's your favorite airline? Does it have to be Lufthansa? Is there any? It has to be. Okay.
I think there's no coming around. I know it has a lot of issues right now, but
Ian, what's your favorite airline? If you say British Airways, I'm leaving the room.
You have stopped having legitimacy.
From where I've had the best flight experience.
Nicole, help us out here. From where he's had the best flight experience, or from?
I don't know, Singapore Airlines.
Singapore Airlines is insane.
Yeah.
Singapore, Emirates. Oh wait, obviously, I mean they're some of the only 5-star airlines in the world.
Singapore business class flight from Singapore is
pretty good.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's also more about the, let's say,
the Lufthansa and the connection.
Fair enough. And so, I do obviously concur that there are other airlines who
are also okay to fly.
Okay.
But Emirates business class, which I did from Sydney to Dubai, they have a bar on the back of the plane. So when you're at 30,000 feet and you have your gin and tonic, I'd call that pretty civilized.
Yeah, okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, goals, no?
It's the goals, apparently so. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
Sure. So coming back to my extremely long experience of 3 years at EHL.
Yeah.
No, the answer was that for one, I have a personal relationship with the industry, given my family background. Number two, it was for me very intriguing to see new industries. I mean, I come from a background of ETH in Zurich, very tech, and with this type of research also come very classic industries.
Right.
I mean, most of my studies I've done with engineering, chemical compounds. I've pretty much researched every dirty industry out there.
Yeah.
And at some point I thought there must be some space for really sexy research.
Yeah.
And somehow when I think about hospitality, F&B, travel and transportation, that resonates so much more than
bar in the business
compounds.
lounge.
No, and I mean, EHL is a top school, has a fantastic reputation.
Yeah.
And there was an opportunity that was brought to my attention, and I took the opportunity. And to this day, I'm very happy I came to this interview.
Unique space, yes. Okay.
No, absolutely, because I can also position myself much better because I do studies on innovation entrepreneurship, where most of my colleagues do not research, and so by the virtue of the empirical setting, it's already sexy.
Pretty good space, yeah. I'm going to bring this up, and I realize it's a touchy topic, so let me formulate it correctly.
Okay.
I realize that obviously in recent times, the relationship to other hotel schools hasn't necessarily always been fun, right? Now, would you agree with me, despite everything that's happened, that there are other hotel schools, not just in the close vicinity, but also in the Netherlands, some in the Germans apparently have one or two as well, that we need, the Americans, the Asians, that we need in order to keep the cosmos and the idea of hospitality going. Everything political is set aside. Is that a fair statement to make, Ian?
Every hotel school in the world should work together.
Okay.
For one simple reason, for the betterment of our entire industry.
Exactly.
Right.
Full stop.
Okay.
We call this co-opetition.
Yeah. The fact that then, we should, because one, if you look at our industry, we don't have the best reputation in terms of working conditions, hours, pay, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And that isn't something that either one hotel brand or one hotel school or one individual solve on their own.
Yeah.
But it's us as a school and hopefully thought leaders in what we do. But we should be working with the guys at The Hague, and we already do. We cooperate with Euston, we cooperate with Hong Kong Poly.
Yeah.
And we need to do that with the hotel companies as well, owners, operators, etc. For the overall betterment of our industry. Because at the moment or in the future, we're going to be in a nasty place.
Yeah.
Because people are turning more and more towards tech companies and other things. Do you want to become a coder?
Yeah.
Or do you want to work in a hotel? So do you want to earn double the salary, maybe even triple, work Monday to Friday, nice office job, chai latte, or work in a hotel 6 days a week, including weekends and evenings, never see your family friends for 1/3 of the price? That is something we have to address, and that is doing that collectively together.
I would even go a step further, and I think that brings me back to, Florian, your question previously, the new strategy of EHL. It's not just hospitality schools that need to collaborate. We need to also tap into the broader scheme of business schools out there, because why do you think we have a strategy change? You asked me where that motivation came from. If you go 50 years back, you came to EHL because you knew you would enter a trajectory where you would go for GM. And it was amongst hospitality experts that this competition was run.
Right.
Where do people today come from? They come from business schools. They come with business degrees. They don't even necessarily have a hospitality background because there's the dichotomy between the back of house and the front of house. And those people that also graduate from here mostly try to go on the GM track, but that means you're competing now against bachelor degree students from all over the world, and they bring different perspectives, different angles that are super innovative, entrepreneurial. And I'm finishing my sentence, and then you can
finish.
And so you need to change our strategy, and then you need to connect not just with business schools, but with everybody out there, because that's only how you know how to play that game.
Yeah.
Because maybe throw on back at YouTube, being more recent grads flowing in more than you, Fritz.
Fritz is already the old
Not
I see where we're going here.
No, but if you look, everyone, people are talking about it, and I always use them as a bit of a sort of shining beacon in our industry. If you look at some of the jobs now in Citizen M hotels, internally in data science, they have data scientists in a hotel company. Would you consider, I'm going to come to EHL to learn how to be a data scientist?
Probably not,
No.
Yeah.
But is there a potential for us as a hotel school to say, okay, if you're an engineer, a data scientist, a programmer, you can do some sort of masterclass, whatever we would call that, in understanding the fundamentals of hospitality, that you can go and write better code and more relevant code, or understand the numbers better.
Like a dual degree with EPFL.
Yeah.
You do the hospitality side from this side, you get the tech side from EPFL, and you get the sweet deal of both sides.
Sorry, he's just put a smack sticker onto his shirt or on his forehead. Let me ask this while we're on this topic, just to get that covered. What is easier in your opinion? Is it easier to get more people that study hospitality to stay in hospitality, or is it easier to get people that have nothing to do with hospitality education-wise to come join the industry? Because I remember when I was, or give me your take on that, because I mean, you guys are HR experts as well, from what I heard. Because I remember when I was still in EHL, 60% of my school year was most likely answer they were not going to stay in hospitality.
No, I think the question we'll ask for it is, if you apply to EHL as a student, and in the application process, you don't have a notion of, I'm going to stay within hospitality in one way or another,
Right.
There's something wrong. Then you're fundamentally in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Why?
Hang on. Let me finish.
Hang on.
Yeah, you got off on the wrong. Now, I'm not saying this means you're going to be a GM or whatever. It could be whatever it is. I want to work for an OTA, but I want to understand the industry. I think the question we need to ask is, what happens in the cursus of a student or someone in their career that switches them off? I was born and grew up in a hotel. I did a hotel school, didn't do EHL, but I did one. I then had a professional hospitality management career. And then one day, for various reasons, I said, that's it, I'm done. So we need to understand what triggers people to say, I no longer want to follow this as an industry career path.
But jumping on that, I mean, I had a discussion with a person too long ago that too many hotel schools just really educate people to become managers. Everybody out of hotel school says, I directly want to be GM, or I want to be head of this, head of that. And in the industry, we're still lacking a lot of people to do the normal jobs, to actually run the hotel. So where's that gap? Are hotel schools not supposed to help people to find also waiters and front of house people, or are we hotel schools really just specialized for management level? And
well, the question is, do you really need a degree if you want to be in the front of house? Isn't the operational side much more important?
Of course, but this is EHL, but then every hotel school now wants to do a bachelor in this or a bachelor in that, and this practical hotel school is pretty much disappearing more and more, after my feeling. Maybe you guys know it better.
We still have the practical side in there, because I do also firmly believe if you want to manage anything, you need to understand what you're managing. If you haven't done that job, it's very hard to understand where the bottlenecks are, where the intricacies lie. Still, I do believe that if I want to be somebody who is supreme in the front of house jobs, do I need studies for that? Do I need the theories of waiting? I do believe you learn that on the job. You learn best of what you do in the operational context. If you choose to study this matter, then at least from where I stand, and I'm happy if you want to disagree with me on that one, you're learning exactly how to manage these jobs. You take a more holistic standpoint of how different operational sites connect, how they're best coordinated. And there is a more managerial angle to that, which is also why students from this school are increasingly not just competing against other hospitality graduates, but actually graduates from classic business schools. The landscape has changed, also because hospitality has changed a lot. Brought the example, Ian, you said we have now data scientist departments in hotels. That is something we didn't used to see. So overall, different industries have gotten much closer together, and thereby it's not that cut and dry anymore, where one industry starts and another industry, let's say, begins. For that matter, I also do believe in terms of what we consider hospitality education. For me, it's much more about the center, which is service. And the fourth industrial revolution is all about service engagement. And for that matter, I do see why students come to EHL, even if they don't want to stay in the hospitality industry. So I wouldn't necessarily say we put them off along the way. But it's much more about saying, I come here because this is the best school where I know how to bring the best of management and service together. And I don't necessarily have to do this within the hospitality industry. If you do that, great. Yeah. But there are various industries that now are all centered around service, and that's why our students are increasingly also very attractive in industries that are not the die-hard hospitality sectors, but those that just center around service.
Tell me about online education, because I realize it's something that EHL started a couple of years ago, and then that you guys have put a serious amount of work into, and so on and so forth.
We got training to be also a movie star.
There we go, exactly.
There's a second possible venue for
I've heard good things about your appearances in front of the camera, Nicole, so we'll make sure to add the picture that Ian has, the caption of your makeup and hair style in front of the camera to this post.
But you have these friends.
No, but tell me, in all seriousness, guys, tell me what's your take on that tradition? The hardcore traditionalists will say education has to be taught face to face. You have to have a professor there, and you have to have a group of students there. Can we all agree? Probably bullshit by now, because there's other more modern ways, and that will have a same, if not the better effect. Give me your opinion, and can you give me a brief explanation of what's been done, especially with your movie career recently, Nicole?
Yeah, I start realizing why I loved theater when I was in high school. So it definitely came back now really handy as we were training me to appear on the movie screen. Do we need faculty? No. Is it nice to have? Do I believe that a certain personal interaction is helpful? Absolutely. Because something tech cannot replace. I mean, a nice conversation like this one right now in the room is very different if we were both in front of our laptops in different rooms, and this would probably all be a little bit more sterile.
Sure.
But at the same time, let's face it, If we move a little bit away more towards graduate education rather than undergrad, which is where most of the tech and digitalization is currently taking place, you really want to take 1 or 2 years out of a full-blown career to get a master's degree, jeopardize getting back in, because yes, you learn something, but you're also in the eyes of the, let's say, industry, you're losing 2 years of industry experience. Yeah. Most people don't do this any longer. And frankly speaking, our schedules are so jam-packed that it's much easier if I have a video and I can actually look that video up whenever it fits my schedule. I can do the exercises when I feel like it, because maybe somebody, biorhythm is different from every person. Let's face it, I'm not a morning person. Don't talk to me before I haven't had at least 3 coffees, unless you want to be bitten. And other people completely flourish at 6 o'clock in the morning, which from where I come from doesn't work. So I can adapt my stuff to how it works for me and gets for a better learning experience.
I think maybe I don't want to re-answer the question, but what you said before for it's about...
Did you just say I didn't really answer the question?
No, I don't want to re-answer the question.
That's a polite way of saying, okay, that answer was crap, let's give the real answer. Ian, man.
No, I don't want to re-answer the question.
Really answer, okay, let's really answer.
No, but come back to what you said before about more sort of front of house stuff. And the interesting thing here is, EHL is looking to do this as well. I think a lot of time, hard skills you can learn online nowadays. How to peel a potato, how to cut an orange, how to fold a napkin, how to open a bottle of wine. You can watch videos on that online instruction. I still think you need some person to interact, especially for soft skills, and also how to perfect certain hard skills as well. But I think the basics you can definitely, or at least get a very good notion of. I mean, I'm sure you've done it. How many times have you literally jumped on YouTube? How do I? Yeah. And then you do something, fix something on your car or whatever it may be. Yeah. People are doing that day in, day out nowadays to at least get an idea of, how to fix something on my washing machine. Oh yeah, well, I actually found, I didn't know that filter was there. And it was a YouTube thing. I didn't need to have some kind of person or engineer.
Explain it to me in person. Yeah, sure.
So I think, we're going to have more of this mix, and we actually should.
Before we come to the end, where we always ask, and just like that, 45 minutes have flown by, where we always ask the guests on the show the same question. Can I have one funny story from your hospitality experience? And I realize for you, Nicole, it can be something related to travel and your relation to your family and what you said with your mother being with Lufthansa. Give me a story where you had to laugh because a service didn't work, a student didn't quite do what he was told and interpreted the task in a completely different way. Something where a member of staff in a place you worked, and I know, Ian, you have a good one for this one that you've told me about.
Which one was that?
Which relates to some form of room service, I believe.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not going there. No.
Is there any, because I mean, with your experience and the amount of traveling that you guys have also done, both for your professional lives and for your leisure lives, there has to be a good story. Ian, come on. Don't let me down on this one.
Yeah, but I don't know how...
how to politely put this.
Nobody listens
to this anyway, so just go for it.
Famous last words.
Fritz, you told me last week that 10,000 people listened to the last one.
That was to sell you to come on the show. So go on, give us the story, come on.
Nicole, ladies first.
No. Listen, you are the die-hard hospitality veteran with 20 years under your belt. You will have to give me a minute or two because I'm now trying to rack my brain.
I mean, to be fair, Nicole's 1-0 in the lead because she gave us the pants story. So you need to...
Okay, so I'll give you one. No names.
Now you got him going.
So this was when I was in hospitality as a manager.
Yeah.
And I was going to go somewhere pick. So I had to walk past one of the rooms.
Yeah.
Down the corridor, and I started hearing some interesting noises coming from the room.
Yeah.
Okay. And the noises got a little bit louder and louder and weirder. So I went down the stairs and I bumped into the head chef, Bully.
Yeah.
He was like a sort of 22-stone Polynesian guy.
Yeah.
I said, Bully, come up here. So we ran back, being very, very juvenile, and we're outside the room with all these noises going on. What's going on? And suddenly they stop. Okay, it stopped. At which point the door opens. So there's me as duty manager, the head chef, and we're both there, stood outside this guy's door, and he's opened the door. And of course, I'm thinking, that's it. He's going to report it. I'm fired. I'm done. And as a flash, Buddy turns around and he goes, "Oh, there it is. Thank you for helping me find my contact lens." Magically picked off the floor and we walked off. I'm like, "I love you so much." Yeah, and as I was on reception duty the next morning, checkout was rather interesting. Let's put it that way. So there's one for you.
Nicole, it's time.
I was listening now to his story, so this is my
didn't
challenge.
give time to think. Yeah.
I just want to say, because I probably have a lot of them. The problem is you're putting me on the spot right now, and that one is difficult to say.
Any air travel stories? Okay.
Well, I just had. I mean, it's not particularly probably funny, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind right now is where so when I travel, given that my mother and I, in fact, worked for Lufthansa, I sometimes travel as a internal employee. So, and oftentimes it can happen that the flight is in fact a little bit more, let's say, packed. And we had a stewardess who had just recently come back from maternity leave, who didn't feel so well and passed out on a long-haul flight across the ocean.
And you took over.
And I took over.
Oh, that is very cool.
Well, which is not funny, but that's the only thing that really came to my mind, because I suddenly was in the middle of the air and I was never on. I was ground staff. I had never catered in an airplane or anything, so I just had to just really get into it and just say, "Hey, hi,
that's hospitality.
Yeah, but that's the hospitality side of it.
What can I offer you?"
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was when EasyJet was born.
You ask people, would you mind helping out real quick? Guys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Allow me to ask both of you 3 short questions with the request for short-ish answers. Doesn't have to be one word, but short-ish. My favorite part, Nicole, about hospitality is? Ian?
Technology.
very, very good answer.
I like it.
The last...
True to the core.
The last leisure trip I took was to?
Andermatt the Chili.
And the best part about that trip, or the most memorable part about that trip was? Okay, Ian?
Steigenberger Resort, Marsa Salem in Egypt.
And the most memorable parts?
5 o'clock in the afternoon, sat on the beach with a gin and tonic.
There we go. Okay. The next, and I can probably estimate what your answer is going to be to this one, Ian. The next big thing in hospitality will be, in your own opinion, not a right or wrong question.
Well, I would say an clearing of the market of the over-proliferation of brands that we're currently having.
Hotel Hero.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. As always, don't forget to check out what there is to know about Smack at smack.media or on our YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook accounts. We'll see you next time.